Let's talk about Sabitzer. Sabitzer signed on deadline day for Manchester United out of pure desperation due to the injury to Christian Eriksen. And he came with a little bit of a pedigree, and he has absolutely delivered. In terms of the sort of quality of play that you can get on loan, I'm going to be honest, I'm very surprised that we've not managed to just get one decent player in on loan in a bit of a desperation, but two, which is awesome. With the time in the transfer window almost out, obviously the news broke that Eriksen was probably going to miss somewhere in the region of 3 months, if not the entire season, or at least a meaningful chunk of the season. United had to act fast. Finding the right player with that level of notice was mental. A bit like Vegas, when you are desperate in the transfer window, you can't be too picky. Sabitzer was definitely somebody that United were looking at, because the move happened too quickly for us to make a snap decision. I think we must have had some data on him, some knowledge of him, which makes it interesting, because I think many of the fan base hadn't seen too much of, or weren't fully aware of Sabitzer, and they thought he was probably going to be a like-for-like replacement for Eriksen, and that isn't really the case. He's a lot more versatile than Christian Eriksen, probably has similar qualities to him, but certainly not identical qualities to him, and he's actually got some things that he's probably an upgrade on in certain departments as well. But let's take a look at how our Austrian midfielder has been settling into the squad, and maybe what we can expect for him for the rest of the season. So let's start by looking at him comparatively to Christian Eriksen. So like Eriksen, comfortable on the ball, very composed in possession, versatile, right-footed player with experience playing in a variety of positions across the pitch. Basically all 6 attacking positions, Joe, from being midfield and attacking positions. Could probably do you a job, not necessarily be world-class in any of them, but certainly do you a job in all 6 of those positions. You can play central midfield, you can play as a wide attacker, between the lines, support, even centre-forward, deep line midfield. He can do it. We've seen him playing a little bit deeper for United, picking up the role that Christian Eriksen had to a large degree. Christian Eriksen featured pretty much as a deep line midfielder for United, and Sabitzer being a little bit more robust than that, almost a little bit more towards Casemiro in that sense than he is towards Eriksen. But he's been like a nice blend of a Christian Eriksen and maybe even a Fred with the work rate that you get out of him. And the good thing about Sabitzer is on the ball, he is a stark contrast to Fred. Fred covers up a lot by just getting about and being busy. Sabitzer does that, but also has Casemiro-ish qualities on the ball as well. Against Leeds at Ellen Road, which is an absolute baptism of fire for a new player, 5 out of 5 of his tackles won. Intercepted the ball twice and completed 13 out of 13 passes into the final third. Mega. He also made 11 ball recoveries against Leicester, which was more than any other player on the pitch. And it shows, for me at least, these stats show he has just got unbelievable versatility across the pitch. He is a genuine all-round midfielder. And he hasn't quite set the world alight yet. I don't think anyone's going wow about him just yet. He's just been plodding along, doing his thing, and doing like a good job. In the League Cup against Newcastle, he featured for the last 20 minutes, and he showed us just in that time how much of an attacking threat he can be. Now, not always in a direct manner, but Sabitzer helped us stabilise, allowed Sancho and Bruno to push on a little bit, get a bit more confidence in trying to push on and create opportunities. And like we said, hasn't really set the world alight, but he's doing a good job. And I think because he's coming to a team that's already doing well, I think we've not really, he hasn't been able to afford the sort of obvious impact where you go, Martinez is a massive upgrade on Maguire. Or you go, Casemiro is a massive upgrade on Scott McTominay. He's not a massive upgrade on Christian Eriksen. I think the best compliment you can give him is that there has not been a drop-off when Christian Eriksen hasn't featured. And actually, because he's got a different skill set a set of attributes to Christian Eriksen, actually some things have improved slightly. Love it. So once he settles in more, once Christian Eriksen comes back, once Ten Hag finds his place in midfield for him, we might even start to see a better Sabitzer. And certainly a great option that we can see. What role do we think that could be? Well, I think he's probably our most versatile midfielder. Probably even more so than Casemiro, I would argue as well, who's a very, very versatile midfielder. But I think he's got an obvious best position, whereas Sabitzer, I think, gets to fill in multiple roles. You're not going to play Casemiro wide right and expect him to do a job, or striker and expect him to do as good a job as he does where he's at his best in the six. But he's so good on the ball. He works so hard off the ball. He is a great asset to go in and just plug a gap for you. And maybe Ten Hag sees him as someone that could play when Casemiro needs a rest. And what an asset that could be. What an asset that could be. Maybe he could play alongside Christian Eriksen in a game where you go, do you know what? We're probably going to get the job done today, but I don't want to risk an academy player. Give Casemiro the night off. Let Sabitzer step in. You know, or you play him when you maybe need a little bit more discipline. You could perhaps play him in the 10 instead of Bruno. Move Bruno over to right where you're going to get the work rate and the coverage at right back, and have a nice core of three in the centre of the pitch, Christian Eriksen, Sabitzer, Casemiro, that are going to keep possession fantastically. Because, you know, Bruno does lose the ball a little bit because he's constantly trying to create and doing risky things. Well, there might be a game where you go, today we need to hold the ball. You know, we need to have as much of the ball as possible for whatever reason. And we can use the creativity that we absolutely get, which I can't believe some people don't recognise, in Bruno. Move him over to the right. He can put crosses in. You know, Sabitzer's not small. He can get on the end of those. And we can go in a bit of a lopsided 4-3-3. I love the versatility and tactical flexibility that this team is getting because of just a couple of key little loanees that we've managed to bring in. You could also see him as a 6. You could also see him as an 8. You could literally play him up front if you wanted to. And Fred, you got to give Fred credit. Fred's been sensational in recent weeks, and you know he has actually shown that he can be. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's actually shown that he can be a bit of a threat going forward, Fred. And obviously he's got plenty of flaws in his game. I think Sabitzer is a little bit more consistently solid than Fred. I think Fred can be a little bit erratic still. But saying that, Sabitzer can score you goals. In 2021 season, he scored 9 goals for Leipzig, 16 goals the season before. He's played a lot on the wing in that sort of time. But I like him. I like what he's bringing to the club. I think there's a lot of wiggle room for him. I think he comes in and is just one of those players that plays 80% of the games, and just between them, they get a bit of a night off here and there. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of that. We haven't seen loads of him. And I think it's because the squad was already playing at such a good level that he's just kept that level going. But I think that's an underrated talent and an underrated ability. To be able to not miss a player that's been so good for us in Christian Eriksen, I think is excellent. And there's so many games left. I mean, the time we're recording, we're in every single competition still. There's so much football for him to play. There's so many different positions that he could fill in for. I'm really looking forward to seeing just what he can do in a Manchester United shirt. It's been a great start so far. Long may it continue. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.